Going to start? Ready, right?
Yes, we're ready. Yes.
Great. Well, first, I'm going to start saying thank you very much for coming. They have made so many kilometers to be here today. So thank you very much. A very warm welcome. They are here. Their names are Anabella Beju and Alberto Duhomnicu. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, but they are here to present their work titled Designing Sustainable Media Innovation and Human-Centered Approach. Um, just to say some words from them, they are active members of the Fourth Alliance too, they're currently looking for connections and collaborations, and they're open to partnerships also and to joint projects, right? So I'm sure that
Yeah.
there are many opportunities here for you to do that. It's also worth mentioning that they have come here on their own funding. So that means also a lot because that shows that commitment to research and to be willing to do collaboration at any expenses. They're going to present two study cases of building better media. And the first study case is on the Social Impact Makers program. And they're going to talk more about that. But it's a project which integrates the design thinking method to stimulate the students from the from the communication and PR study program to design innovative media products, solutions for sustainability. So as I said before, it's a part that we haven't really dealt in depth here. So it's going to be a very nice contribution. And the second project is the Career 360 podcast. And it's an initiative from the Department of Social Work, Journalism, Public Relations, and Sociology, and is dedicated to inspiring lifelong learning and professional growth. So the floor is yours. So we are really eager to listen to you.
Thank you so much for having for the very generous introduction. And I want to thank Carlos for this opportunity to invite us and have us here and present our project. When I entered the room, I just saw the presentation before. It was about design thinking, and he told me there is apparently a lot of interest in this method. So I hope, I'm sorry, I hope what we are going to present will be interesting for you, and we can find, of course, common ground. Just briefly before we begin about ourselves, I'm Anabella. My expertise is in communication sciences, and I have been teaching in the communication sciences and journalism programs in Sibiu mostly. But as a parallel career, and I'm trying to combine that with the research, I'm a psychologist, a psychoanalyst in training to become one. Alberto is a PhD student and our newest colleague, and he joined our team, and we are very happy to have him. And he has started his career very practically. Like Carlos, he's a journalist. So he has really practical journalistic experience, which I don't have, by the way. Okay, so this is about ourselves. Just to walk you quickly through the agenda of today. To give you some context, because we didn't know what exactly the setup is. So we said, since we come from a different university, maybe it might be interesting to give you two types of context. One related to Lucien Blaga University of Sibiu, to give you more information so you can also know our university, but also a little bit from the country and the place we come from our city. This is how we will introduce the idea of innovation and entrepreneurship and how we have developed this in Lucien Blaga. And then we will present, it will be in the end three, because initially I said two, but we have another thing we want to open up here today. Three, what we consider projects and best practices that we would like to share. So to the context, we come from Sibiu. This is a city in the central region of the country. I wanted to mention Sibiu not only because we come from there and I hope we like where we live, and I think you would like if you want to visit, but also because it is relevant to the idea of fostering innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystems. So basically, our city has a long history, especially a multicultural history. But what is specific and important for us, for our project, for our university, and for our students, is that it has grown in the last years to become a more entrepreneurial city. And important aspects to mention are, and this was a turning point in 2007 when Sibiu was European Capital of Culture. And that stimulated a lot of development in cultural projects especially, but also social projects. 2019 European Region of Gastronomy. If you want to visit, you will find a lot of advertisements and in Forbes that it is a nice place to live and so on. But what is specific, and I have my own expertise and contribution to this, Sibiu stands out right now and in the last 10 plus years through a flourishing social entrepreneurship ecosystem, which has been built gradually. I will not go into the whole history, but what I want to say is that, for instance, we have the biggest fundraising marathon in Sibiu, in the country, which is an international marathon in the meantime. Maybe it's a little bit too much to say it's comparable to the London or New York marathon, but it is on that map. And that's a fundraising event, umbrella, where all the NGOs or initiatives can raise funds. So this is an important detail contextually, because obviously there is a need, there is also an opportunity for education and for future work, because NGOs in Sibiu are becoming a more and more important employer as well. So that would be one thing. And also what we are proud of, it has been introduced in the last mandate of our management, a strong commitment of the university to foster entrepreneurship. And in a way, this is why we are here, actually. Just about the university, I will not go through all of this. It's the classical schools, faculties, I don't know how you prefer to name them. And we come from this part, from the Department of Social Work, Journalism, Public Relations, and Sociology, which is part of the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities. And that's QR code for the project, an AI project we are going to quickly present as well. Back to the history of entrepreneurship, this is why I gave you the context. And what happened is that the lady you can see in the center of the picture, back then the vice rector of the Lucien Blaga University of Sibiu, and I always think it's important to mention her, because if it wouldn't have been for her, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet today and to talk about innovation to begin with in Lucien Blaga University. So she was back then the vice rector responsible for this area of development. And she did, together with her team, of course, 360 stakeholder analysis. And they developed came up with the idea and the strategy to introduce entrepreneurship and innovation as core values in the strategy of in the university strategy of development. Together with this idea, and this is how she started, and she encouraged an informal group back then with people who are interested in this topic, including myself. And we developed many projects under this umbrella, the Working Group for Entrepreneurial Education. It turned out it was very forward thinking in terms of Romania, because in 2017, the Ministry of Education decided to, I don't know how to express this politically correct, to encourage all the universities to create entrepreneurial structures in the university. So for us, this was perfect because we already had that going on. What happened is that we received a judicial background in a way structure. So we are an independent structure within the Lucien Blaga University, and most importantly, financing,
Yeah.
money. Because in the end, yes, all we did as a working group was voluntary, and then, thank God, we received some funding. Of course, do not imagine it is fantastic, but it is good enough to, continue our work and spread these ideas. And ever since, of course, they gave them a name, and we are functioning under this name, the Student Entrepreneurial Society. The vision of this structure, where we are many colleagues, is basically, and I'm going to read it, to become the hub of the next generation of entrepreneurial leaders in Sibiu and beyond, and to encourage an entrepreneurial mindset and to contribute to creating entrepreneurial ecosystem in Sibiu. And by that, I mean to collaborate also with companies, with businesses, with institutions, in as much as possible with the municipality and with the NGOs. So this would be the vision. And of course, we should contribute through education. We should do what we know best. As compared to Valencia, because I was here last year and I saw the entrepreneurial ecosystem here, we're not there yet. That's what I can say for sure, but we are on the way. So I think, yeah, we're with the baby steps, but making progress. So in this context of the Student Entrepreneurial Society, we developed many projects. I'm not going to present all of them, but just wanted to go to say that all of them have behind this idea of introducing educational models which are more practical and focused on problem solving, on experiential learning, and on creative methods, in a way to change the way we usually do things in class. And the Sibiu Impact Makers program, one of the best practices or whatever study cases we want to present today, has been developed within or from this structure, the Student Entrepreneurial Society. Because of course, when we say entrepreneurship, or at least in Romania, this is the case, most of the people think in terms of money, businesses, startups. All the other projects you can see on my slide are related more or less to business or focused on businesses, but we felt a need to also develop a program which is oriented towards social mission. And this is the team who started actually the project. We were 4 in the beginning. It was Valentin Grecu, Alma Pentescu, Lia Baltador, and myself, and Alberto and Nancy joined later. Maybe to the team, I just want to say that some of my colleagues, Valentin, Nancy, and Alma, I think Lia did not join the program. They went for special training at the Rochester University in the United States. So we had the opportunity to bring a lot of know-how to the team, we say from the best in a way. So when we started this project, the history behind is that we had 2 desires and 2 goals in mind. And one was actually to stimulate, unlock the potential, empower, create the context for new leaders who are able to design and to drive meaningful social impact. That was one of our main ideas, so to prepare the next generation of people, of young people especially, who can actually contribute to the flourishing of their communities, to be social aware, and so on, and the whole society, to transform society or the organizations they work in. But also the second goal, and this is about interdisciplinarity, was to challenge a little bit the status quo of how we do things, like I said, in class, of how we teach. And I'm gonna present you how exactly we did that. Just wanna quick before, we have in the meantime 6 editions of Sibiu Impact Makers. The last one was because it starts every autumn. And the last one was last year, so 2024.
So how it works, in these programs are engaged students from several specializations: marketing, engineering, communication and public relations, human resources, business administration. I don't know them all by heart, but the idea was to engage all the students in the program, and also they come from different faculties. And what they do, they basically they receive from us design challenges based on the SDGs or related to the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. I put them on the slide. And they have to come up with solutions as practical as possible, solutions in form of at least one prototype by the end of the semester by using the design thinking method. Um, and for the media students, so for each specialization, but I wanted to mention how it is different for the media students because it is where we come from. What they have to do is either to either to solve a design challenge related to communication sciences or to sustainable consumption, or to contribute with a communication-based innovation or innovative solution to any other SDG they like. And what we do is we give them in the beginning of the semester, we think of ideas of themes, we give them some design challenges. Um, but that's a list just for them to have something to begin from. But they are absolutely free to choose any social problem they would like to solve. And here the palette is very large in the sense that they can approach really, let's say, smaller problems, like how to improve the feedback between teachers and students in our specialization, to more complicated problems like how to reduce food waste in a restaurant. So the choice is theirs. Basically, they can decide because we want to encourage them to take ownership in the learning process, and not for us to impose to them what's important to them. Some of them, and I always encourage them to choose, for instance, problems. Many of our students come from rural areas or have lived in communities with different kinds of struggles. So I encourage them especially to choose something they feel they would solve if they had the money, power, and so on. Um, I'm not going to go into the method because obviously everybody knows the method here. I just want to share, I don't know to what extent you are aware, but in the end we can exchange this information. We have, at least us, we have taken our materials and our tools partially from what the colleagues learned when they were in the United States, but from Stanford D School, which, because they are open to everybody, and we just adapted those tools to our context and to our needs. We translated materials and so on. But basically, whoever wants to do this can do it very easily. Because Stanford prepares and they give access to the school and the Hasso-Plattner Institute, they give access to all the materials anybody needs. And these are just pictures. We have tried, experimented, also because we were forced by the pandemia, two types or two versions of Sibiu Impact Makers. Initially, it was offline, and you can see very much creativity. We force them to work as hands-on as possible and creative. And of course, in the end, to present their solutions, to argue, and try to convince the public why that solution is good, why it is innovative, why I should invest in it, why I should hire you, and so on. And this is from the offline version, but when the pandemic came, we were forced to adapt, obviously, like everybody else. And for that, we designed, we have also, yes, the online version of the design thinking. And to do that, on the other laptop, I had it prepared. What we use is Miro. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that. It is basically an online platform. It's like a huge whiteboard, which allows teams to work
asynchronously online in a digital. And what you see here, for instance, these are excerpts from how it looks like. And basically, for every stage of the design thinking method, we give them pre-prepared templates of instruments, like, I don't know, the empathy, how they should do it, instructions, and so on. But they have to work in this mirror thing, which is basically an online version of working with sticky notes in offline, because it allows you to just put your information structured in sticky notes. So for instance, this is the template for developing concepts, and this is from 2024. This is a project from one of the teams developed. I'm gonna come back to this, for a company in Sibiu, and this is the prototype for an application. So they also have for the prototype and for everything. And in the end, they will just prepare a pitch for the final competition. I forgot to mention that in the last year, we managed to get companies on board again, because we had that. And some of the students have the opportunity to choose to approach a challenge given by an NGO or by a company. And for instance, this company, which is also our partner, and Alberto will present you that in the podcast, they gave us the challenge. They have a problem, obviously, with communication with their employees. And the responsible person wanted to get as many ideas as possible to see what they want to do. And one of the teams chose this. They went to the company, they interviewed the people, that's the empathy phase. So they facilitated the access of our students there. They really did the interviews with employees, and they came up with an idea. I'm very proud to say that after we just emailed that afterwards, we said, okay, this is what they came up with. It's a good practice for them. But the company told us, they said they want to see them because they really want to implement the idea, and they asked us for a technical contact, an IT company who could develop that, because they want to take ideas from what the students generated. Of course, I don't want to picture this more fantastically than it is. This is rather an exception than the rule. But we have also other exceptions of very nice learning experiences and outcomes from students, and I feel there's a lot of potential. What we have seen that is working this in time is that indeed, when they work for social objectives, to solve a social problem, they are most of the times more motivated, or they tend to choose that, because as we know from theory, it turns out it's the case, the intrinsic motivation is probably bigger in those cases. So what the solution beneath is about, it's a solution for by the team that you see here, developed for approaching mental health struggles of students. It is a topic that has been approached a lot in the last 2 years at least. So they are trying to solve their own problems, and this is what I will not go into the solution, but this was the topic, and of course they found an app in this case. It's not always an app, the solution, but this is how it works. And what we do now is we basically do a combination, a hybrid option, because we teach offline and they can come, but they work most of the times in Miro. So some of the exercises or the phases are exercised offline, as for instance with Legos and stuff like that, and creative things, but in the end they have to put this online. And we insisted to stick to Miro because we had feedback from some of the companies in Sibiu who use Miro for their employees. Of course, not with design thinking necessarily, for other purposes, but we said this is, let's say, a secondary advantage and objective to develop their digital skills and the ability to work remotely, hybrid, in teams, in platforms which are actually used by the by the company is not what we believe it's important or whatever. And just briefly to research, we were thinking about this thing from the beginning in a way, but we never actually found the energy to do it. But in the last year, we started to measure what we do. That's also something we need for research, but also to try to understand if what we do actually has an impact on the educational experience of students. It is the first iteration of this study, so it's not fantastic, but we measured before and after. We developed an instrument after the European Union, the Entrecomp framework. I don't know to what extent you are aware, the European Commission defined 8 key competencies, lifelong learning competencies, and entrepreneurship is one of them. Social awareness is another one. And this program combines both. And we wanted to see if design thinking and problem-based learning do indeed increase entrepreneurial competencies. And we started to develop this instrument from the framework created by the European Union, and we measured before and after. It's a quasi-experimental design. And we definitely want to measure different things around it, but we also have published a small article. What we found is that because we analyzed this data also as combined with different learning styles, and we found that indeed there is an increase, but the results were not spectacular, but that's also due to methodological limitations, I believe. But for the type of pragmatist learner, so the type of person who is by itself oriented to more practical solutions and to learn in a more practical way, the increase in competencies in all under sub-competencies was important, statistically relevant. So at this stage, it's just to say that apparently we have a little bit more solid ground to continue to use design thinking, because yes, we have research-based, or at least for us, because there are also other researchers who are trying to see to what extent does design thinking work in education. And yes, the project itself is definitely helping because of design thinking as an innovative educational tool, but also most importantly because it increases the social awareness. So we basically touch upon 2 key competencies defined by the European Union. It's something we think it's important and we want to continue doing. So I guess that's it about Sibiu Impact Makers. And the second project, and this is just a slide to introduce because your colleague said before, we came here on our own funding. That is because besides these things we already have developed, like I believe most researchers and professors looking towards the future, we have become in the last 6 months, last year or so, more interested in how we can integrate AI in learning and also in research projects related to AI. And we are here as part of this project led by our department director, Ms. Anabella. All 3 of us are part of this project, which is basically about AI innovation, research excellence in our fields of study. So we're not limited to it, but predominantly oriented, we are more interested in these areas: sociology, communication sciences, which means for us social work, human resources, leadership, journalism, and, well, yes, PR, strategic communication, maybe media psychology. So this is actually just to open the floor to you, to collaborations. We are open and interested to develop interdisciplinary projects and, if possible, cross-national. That would be fantastic. And we welcome you to Sibiu, and we hope we will progress and learn more from each other from this AI novelty, because obviously it's here to stay. this is my part of the presentation. I'm gonna give the floor to Alberto because he's our main star in the next project, and I'm very proud to say that because we as a department couldn't have developed this project if it wasn't for him. So Alberto,
Thank you very much.
and thank you.
I will show you. Do we have time? Should I go fast through it? Okay. Okay. So I will present to you very fast, like 3 good practices that we have in our university. I would like to start with the Careers 360 podcast. It's an initiative that we just got started with. It's about authentic conversations about careers and growth. And the main idea about the Careers 360, the number is like we do like 360 degrees, because let's be honest, the main people that come to the university, they come to sell, they come to advertise their company, they always show the good side of the story. And we'd like to invite like experts from different fields of area, like entrepreneurs, like activists, so they can come and show us the bad situations that they got through and how they built resilience for the younger generation, not to be like involved in these situations, or they can overcome it very easy with the advice from the experts that we came with in the series. This is the theme. This is our vision and values, which very shortly is like honest conversation beyond cliches. So we don't only show the bad, the good. We show the good part of the story, but we always show the bad part of the story, so the students know how to deal with it when they get into it. And it's encouraging personal and professional development and highlighting resilience, which is the main idea of the thematic season that we have now. Very short about the podcast format. It's about an introduction made by the host, each of the character, and then although it's a very structured thing, it's we go to a specified structure. We have the questions before, but it's always about flexibility. We always leave room for the unexpected. And although we have some questions, the main part of the story and the most interesting one is the ones that we improvised, and we go with the flow with the questions. And the most beautiful moments from the first 2 episodes that we got were strictly improvised. Here are the thumbnails for the first 2 episodes. In the first episode, we had Patrick Moléans, which is a Frenchman that came into Sibiu like before the COVID-19 crisis started, and then had to go back to France, and then came back to Romania, and now is the director of the company that Anabella said earlier is helping us a lot. Is the sponsor of our podcast. It's very helping us going with this concept. And also in episode 2, we had Camelia Proca. It's the executive director of the Association for Freedom and Gender Equality. She specializes in gender equality and domestic violence, of course. It was the main subject that we started with. And she gave us a lot of insights about what is the type of work that she does and how she encountered a lot of problems throughout the way, but she overcame them with a lot of ease, one of them, and very hard, the other ones. I have, please.
So to Camelia Proca, and we are learning in this process, but the way we see it's not released, it will be released this week, right? It's an educational podcast. So she gave us so much and concrete information about how violence, all sorts of violences and aggression look like, that you can see it definitely not only as a career development podcast and her story, how she managed to navigate these challenges, but an educational podcast about domestic violence. And I think we will continue to find this kind of
Yes, of course. And I would like to show you 2 fragments of it, if I can. Let's see. Oh. Spanish or English? Let's go. Let's go with Spanish.
We're not sure how it's gonna work, but
Când am avut 16 ani, trebuie să alegi o direcție. Și în Franța venim cu părinți, cu profesori principali și trebuie să exprim unde vrem să mergem. Și eu am vrut să fiu bucătar sau patissier. Și când am ajuns în fața de profesor, am zis așa. Și el a devenit roșu și a zis părinții mele, nu se poate, e cel mai bun în matematic la noi, trebuie să mergi la bacalaureat și după aceea deveni inginer. Și părinții mele, care nu au făcut studii, au zis, bun, dacă este așa, facem așa. Și am mers mai departe cu bacalaureat și după am devenit inginer, dar în prima dată am vrut să fiu altceva. Dar cred că ce este important este ambiție, e bine, dar nu trebuie să fii prea ambițios, că dacă suntem prea ambițios, pot fi doar tristez dacă nu ajungi unde vreau. Și
That's just an insight of the first podcast. And the second one, it's the story of how Camellia got into gender equality, and it's a story about an 80-year-old nun that came to Romania to see the abandoned children after the revolution, but I just let you see. Let me just...
Pe mine, prima persoană care m-a adus în discuție feminismul și mi-a pus în brațe cărți pe tema asta și în domeniul legalității de gen a fost o călugăriță catolică. Puține lume ar bănui. Sister Mary avea 80 de ani și venise în România după Revoluție pentru că a fost impresionată de situația orfanilor. Mai apoi a aflat că, de fapt, copiii respectivi erau abandonați și a fost motivată să lucreze și a fost să ajungă la cauzele abandonului. Și asta este organizația în care am lucrat și eu. Ce m-a impresionat la abordarea ei a fost că se apropia de probleme precum violența domestică, fără a judeca oamenii. Chiar dacă ajunseseră la niște fapte foarte, foarte grave și distruseseră familia, se apropia de ei cu înțelegere. Pentru mine asta a fost o revelație, pentru că eu eram o persoană religioasă, o persoană, sunt și astăzi o persoană foarte preocupată de spiritualitate.
So this is the kind of podcast that we do. It's always about the stories. It's always about the how they overcome things. Let me show you again. Okay. And we thought that it would be good to have thematic seasons. We want to do like 6 episodes per season. First one is about successful stories and resilience. The second one will be about AI and careers. Basically, what we did last week in Sibiu was we did a workshop where we invited a lot of various experts from like PR, journalism, human resources, and administration. And we divided them into groups, and everyone would say how they use the AI in their work. And we thought that it would be a great idea to invite them to the podcast related, of course, to the areas of our department, and tell us how they use the AI in their work. But they are also at the beginning now, so we will just let them evolve a little bit, and then we will invite them. And the season 3 would be about diversity, and we will focus on how diversity shapes professional identity. We invite guests who broke barriers related to gender, culture, disability, or social backgrounds with interesting stories. The second project that we have is like EduJourna interviews, which in Romanian translates like education through journalism. And before the COVID-19 crisis started, or because the COVID-19 crisis started and we were in online, we decided that it would be good for the people because it was a lot of doubt about the vaccine and a lot of information that was misunderstood. So we would like to accessibilize the type of scientific information to the teens. So basically what we did, it was a series like online interviews that started with the journalist students, including myself, that we tried to explore topics like neuroeducation, human education, competition, service learning, but all explained in the way that makes sense to a wide audience. So the experts would not use like an elevate type of language. They will just explain very simply concept about scientific methods that we use or that they use. Um, and what happens now, it's like we do the same thing, but we just recalibrated a little bit the content in terms that we uh, don't explain scientifically anymore, but in like the season 2 of it, we just started to give back to the students. So we just addressed themes like time management for students, procrastination, or the anxiety that they have during the exams. So we try to give people to get people in the interviews. It's a student driven project, so they do everything about it. And we just want to make the students learn better, to make them improve better. So here you can see in the far right is like a psychologist, and then another example is a musical producer. Another type of interview that we did about related all about the music and how the teens can enjoy and start like a band or something, and to be introduced like musically in, and how do they overcome like the difficulties with it. It was about the rock music, but although we have different missions between these two formats, the same spirit is used, but they both use interviews as a way to humanize knowledge in a way. um, the most interesting part that I'm very most interested into is like we are committed also to inclusion. I've done some research, including with Anabella, that we explore the sign language, Romanian sign language. I don't know how you stay here with it throughout the podcast, but I know, I know you stay better with us because I saw a great PhD in our research that we just seen. And as you might or might not know, in Romania, this culture, this deaf culture is subrepresented. It's like they have like 30 minutes of TV educational programs every day, mainly news, but it's very, very little for what they demand. So we want to include sign language in our podcast. That would make us like the first podcast that uses sign language, but it's not about that. It's the thing that, because it's not important who is first or who is not, but we want to take accessibility very seriously in this sense. And on the case studies that we used in our research, we found that subtitles are not enough. I mean, we have closed captions for YouTube, but they have different perceptions about uh, writing and reading as well. So we want to give them sign language because they connect better with the interpreters, and they would have a better understanding of the type of content they are watching. So this in the right of the screen is how it would look like. I prefer the first type of thing, but we will decide on which we do. We would like to start as soon as possible. It's very hard to find good interpreters in Romania. There are a few that are very, very good, but it's not an hard thing to do. It's more about choosing the right interpreter that the deaf people connect with, and then the post production is easier, I think. And also, what we'd like to do, I know in Romania as well, some students are working on some type of artificial intelligence, yes, that is going to use AI to translate the AI through an automated avatar. Yes. And that would be grateful because you don't need the interpreter anymore. Like it's more easy to do the translation to the people, the deaf people, but it's many years from now, I think. So because there are a lot of subtleties in the language of the deaf, I mean, for Spanish is different, for Romanian is different, but also from different regions of Romania is different because it's the way they use their hands, the way they use their mimics. So that's, I think, the best thing to do for the future. And that's a sign of inclusion that mostly we'll have to do in the future. Yeah, that's mainly my presentation. Thank you. If you have any questions, thank you very much.
Thank you, really, because you have told us a lot of things, interesting things, beginning with the landscape of the situation in Sibiu, in the University of Sibiu, and the entrepreneurial project. Very interesting, very interesting. And finishing with this, of course, the podcast, the video podcast that is now also in Spain. It's expanding a lot. No, it's a phenomenon, worldwide phenomena. But I never have thought about the possibility of sign translation. No, and I think it's really very, very interesting. Why not? If we are using the podcast, not the podcast, but the podcast is obviously it's impossible to do a sign translation. But in a video podcast, it's perfectly possible, and it's not. I think it's the IA. It's a very good combination. No?
We don't know
Yeah.
for sure how this is possible because we would need the insights from one engineer.
Yeah.
But what we know, and this because this was Alberto's master thesis,
And
also Yeah.
master research,
And
not with the AI, but with the
The
access
PhD, you are doing this
AI and
not related.
more or less.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you have some question about some thinking, or do you prefer, because we are it's late, even for the Spanish, no, to eat. We are going to eat all together. I don't know if you prefer to speak with them, because of course they are invited.
here.
We are going to eat all. If you have some question now, or you can do it in 5 minutes in the bar. Did you
that's a
prefer?
rhetoric question.
It's a rhetoric question, yeah. Do you think we can go to, you stay, no? Do it, Rosa, it's not possible for you? No, it's not possible.
The emails.
Oh, yeah,
Anytime. So if you wanna, thank you so much.
yeah.
Inspiring us.
We
As
hope.
a model for us. Really.
Thank
Okay.
you too.
Okay,
And we welcome you anytime.
thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to, in 10 minutes, we see the bar.
Yes. Can we take a, Alexa,
Yeah, I can.
can we take a picture
Oh, yes, of course.
with,
Oh, yeah.